G'day all you beautiful music lovers and music creators. Pull up a posse and get comfy because in today's video I'm going to take you on a tour behind the hood of my latest track Flow and show you how I made this song in Ableton. This is the first track off my debut EP Earth Arcadia, which came out last November. So if you haven't yet checked that out, head to the link in the description, add it to your favorite playlist, put it on repeat for 24/7. Either way, it's up to you. And for all you nerds, I have made this Ableton project available to download for your amusement or education so that you can learn, dissect, analyze how I have created this song. And it's available via my stores on Patreon and Ko-Fi. So head to the link in the description if you want to download this project. It also includes a copy of my album artwork and also the song. So whether you just love collectibles, digital collectibles, or you want to pick apart this session and see how I have produced this track from start to finish and all of the mixing effects that I've used, you can head over to my Patreon or Ko-Fi and grab this project today. So now that that's out of the way, I'm going to take you on a tour behind the hood of my track and show you how I made it. All right, so all of the production on this track was based around this guitar riff that I played on my electric guitar, which I bought a very long time ago. It's like this cheap Yamaha that I bought for $500. So I came up with this riff by jamming over another like tropical house song that I liked. So I was just jamming over this tropical house song and I came up with this little riff, my own original riff that, I basically used as inspiration to create this whole track. So let's have a listen to the guitar riff. And that's it. That is the guitar riff, little guitar lick that I came up with. And basically all I've done to this is put a few effect plugins on it like EQ8. And as you can see, I've done some kind of pretty, I would say, what would you call that? That's definitely not minimal EQing. That is quite, I'd say, what's the word that they use? Harsh cuts. So as you can see, I've done some pretty harsh cuts and boosts on my guitar. And that is because it is kind of like a really cheapy guitar. And I'm also, basically going into a little bit of sound design here. So it's not kind of your typical like way that you would use an EQ. Depending on the style of song or genre will depend on how you will EQ a sound. But this is what I did. And I was pretty happy with it at the end. So that's really all that matters. I do things to my ear and my taste most of the time, not because I'm being technical or like, some kind of mix engineer. I am just simply doing subjective, modifications to the sound through EQ. So as you can see, my EQ8 has some big cuts and boosts on it. And then we have a saturator. I also have a compressor as well, and I also have an auto filter as well. And so that's basically my mixing chain for the guitar. Do I have anything on the group? Let's have a look. Nope, nothing on the group. Now in terms of the basses that I use, because I do have some reverb, delay and Valhalla room over here in my session. So basically I put a shitload of reverb on here. So as you can see, the A reverb is basically full throttle. We have a little bit of delay on it, -14, which is still quite a lot. And then we also have a tiny little bit more of reverb because we obviously didn't have enough reverb from the first one, according to me. And so I, boosted up a little bit of the Valhalla room, which is one of my favorite reverbs that I like to use. So that's basically the main guitar riff that this whole track was based around. I came up with the guitar riff first, and then the second thing that I came up with was my chords. So let's go to my chords and have a look at what we have. So basically this song is in the key of C major. And for those of you who would have been following along, you would have seen my tutorial on how to make a simple beat in Ableton Live 11, and I based that beat on the key of C major. So you can basically go back and compare, kind of where I started you off at to the potential of where you could go with creating a song in the key of C major, because this is all that this song is based on. And it sounds, really epic compared to that beat that I basically created in that tutorial, because we were starting at very basic sounds, very basic chord progressions, very basic textures. So, obviously, as I said in that tutorial, we're starting off in the foundation so that we can build our skills and get to this point of creating a whole track ready for release. And so this song is a great demonstration of, the potential of where your music production could head to when you, practice those foundational skills over time. So anyway, let's look at the chords. So basically it's a really simple chord progression, and let's have a listen to it. And this is the notes in the chords, basically 2-note chords. So it sounds like this. And there you go, a nice little mallet synth. And this is actually created using, I believe, sampler. So this is a sampler instrument that is native to Ableton. So this is an instrument that you can reuse in another Ableton project. And what I'm actually going to do is make this instrument available to download for free from my Patreon. So if you want to use this sound in any of your productions, you can go to my Patreon and download that. There'll be a link for this one in the description as well. And I'll probably put in maybe some other sounds that you can use in your own productions, and that will actually be for free from my Patreon. But yeah, I love this mallet. It's a go-to instrument for a lot of my tropical house releases, and I believe I got it from another template, I think. So yeah, it's only, the right thing to do is to pass it on to someone else and share the love around. So this is a cool, plucky sound that I love to use in my productions. It's one of the ones that I use pretty much all the time. So let's have a listen again. Yeah, so that's your classic, house plucks, tropical plucks. And basically all I've done is layered it with another kind of plucky sound. So it's called a house stab. And this one sounds like this, a little bit of a different timbre. And together it sounds like this. All right, so let's have a look at the other layer in this intro, which is the fills. And this is created with this drum rack. So I have a bunch of basically percussion samples and one-shots on this drum rack that I use a lot in my productions. I tend to just, recycle and reuse sounds. You don't always have to have new sounds in every different single song. So yeah, hell yeah, I use this one all the time and it's so epic. I probably played these in with using my MIDI controller, so we'll have a listen to some of them. Starts here. So I might just actually make this one clip, which is Command J. And let's have a listen. Solo that. And you get the idea. You don't need to hear the whole thing. It's just percussion. It's just adding a little bit of ear candy to that intro and to, just have some rhythms going on. So let's have a listen to the intro. I don't believe there's anything else, but look, I could be wrong, and I am wrong. Look, there are some other things in the intro, which is these vocal samples, which are just from Splice. So yeah, if you do end up downloading this session, you probably won't be able to use these vocal samples because I paid for them and I have a license for them. But you can at least see which ones I use. And if you do have Splice, you can go and download your own. But yeah, let's have a listen to the vocal samples. Damn, and that sounds like there's a lot of reverb on these, hey? So, yeah, basically the only reverb that I used on these was the Valhalla room. Yeah, it's -11, -15. And this Valhalla room has actually quite a large decay on it because I like to create that kind of real spacey ambient feel. So, yeah, I have basically just added some, reverb on it. And I really haven't mixed these vocal samples. I didn't feel like it needed it. It wasn't really doing much to the mix or making it muddy. So, yeah, I got away with not putting any, like basically mixing plugins on that. But you can put them on there, just for safety, like you could just cut out some of the lows if you wanted to put in like an EQ8 on there. Usually that would look like something like this, EQ8, and then go like that. Yeah, and so basically what that does is just cut out all these sort of low frequencies that creates a lot of mud. Anyway, just a little tip there. Okay, so what else? So basically the other thing that we have in this intro is this reverse guitar. So now the way that I created this reverse guitar is I just took a note from here. It could have been this one. I'm not sure which note it was, but basically I took a note and all I did was reversed it. So the way you do that is you right click on the sample and then you go to reverse clips. See how I put it the right way? So all I did, let's imagine that I've just taken this note from over here, whatever, Command E, paste it over here. And then basically I went right click with my mouse and then reverse clip. And that gives me this like little riser. OMG, I am drenched in reverb right now. Okay, so what I could have done is just fade this off a little bit, so that I don't have that harsh kind of click at the end. Let's have a listen to it without the fade. So yeah, as you can hear, there was kind of like this like little click or pop at the end. And to minimize that, you just basically put a little fade in here. OMG, that sounds so much smoother. Now I have this clickety poppy thing in my actual release, but oh well. It's okay. You don't really notice it when there's everything else playing with it. But yeah, that's basically all of the sounds that make up my intro. So let's have a listen to the intro. Let's have a listen to the intro. Swimming in reverb. Okay, so as you heard there, I also have these vocals that I also sang and recorded myself. So currently I've got these tracks frozen, but let's just quickly unfreeze them. Now, basically, I didn't really try too hard to sing in this track. I just wanted like a vocal loop, so I wasn't going for some kind of like epic Whitney Houston, like, perfectly pitched vocals. But basically, I recorded these in using this microphone, and then as you'll see down here, I have a few things on my mixing, like for my mixing plugins on this like channel. So obviously EQ8, I haven't done too many harsh like cuts and boosts on this. As you can see, it's very minimal. Pushed up the highs quite a bit, just to bring out those nice frequencies up in the high like frequency range. We have some saturation, and I have this Butch Vig vocal plugin that I use. This is a really cool plugin, and it doesn't cost much actually. It costs around $49 USD. I think still could be a little bit more right now. I'm not sure. But at the time, I think I bought it for that much. It could have been on sale. But yeah, my recollection isn't too great. But yeah, my point is it shouldn't cost too much. But it's a vocal plugin that I use on all my vocals. And then I also put a little bit of auto tune on my vocals as well, just for that, flavor and extra timbre and texture to my vocals. And then I also have a auto filter, which I don't really think I'm using it on this one, like at all. So we could probably turn that off. Well, let's have a listen.
Let your pain flow.
Swimming and reverb. Okay, yeah, so we can just turn that off. I must have experimented with putting an auto filter on there and then just, was like, I don't need it, and left it there. So anyway, that's why that's there, with basically, it's not in use, so I've turned it off now. Okay, so then we have just layers as well. Yeah, so we had 3 layers to that little vocal loop that I created. So basically we have the main layer, which is centered, and then we have 2 layers, which is left and right. So we get that nice kind of spacious feeling with the vocals. Panned hard, left and right. All right, so basically that is everything in the intro, and everything in the intro that you heard is pretty much like the majority of the layers, in terms of chords, vocals, and also the guitar riff. But as we head into the drop section, that's where we have the introduction of the bass come in. And this is basically created using a splice sample from Splice. And it's from this sample pack, Murder 808 Goyard. And it's tuned to E. So I've had to tune it down to a C using this tuner, and by changing the transposition and detune on the simpler instrument. And I've also added some glide to it. So I used portamento, and also, at the time of the time, how fast or slow that it glides is set at 175 milliseconds. So basically I just took my sample and dropped it into Simpler and created this little kind of like 808 instrument for the basses, and that sounds like this. You can see the notes. So let's have a listen. Hey, why did it skip like that? Okay, let's have a listen. You stay there. Oh, I don't know what does that. You know what? I'm going to do Command J, because that will just basically stop this issue once and for all. All right, let's go. And there you have it. We got some nice gliding 808s, which you don't normally would really hear a lot in tropical house music, but I liked it, so I used it. And as you can see, again, we have some EQ8 just rolling off some of those sub-frequencies and mud. We have a drum bass on it just to give it that extra, that thing. And then we also have some saturator and also sidechain compression. So basically I have a sidechain to my kick, which is my drums. And that's the next thing that we're going to look at. All right, so basically my drum kit was made up of samples from Splice again. So my kick is this Arcando Kit 3 break kick drum. Then I have this open hi-hats and a snap sound. So, all right, so let's listen to the kick and then the hi-hat and then this snap. Okay, and that's pretty much like my drum kit for this. Just 3 sounds, as you can see. So basically all that's playing on this track is the kick, and then we have the rest, like the hi-hats and the snap sound on this one. So together that sounds like this. It's kind of got that like little afro, rhythmic feel to it. And then layered up with that is some hats. Oh yeah, and that's pretty much my drum kit. Like just really minimal. Hey, not much going on. And then the other thing that you're going to hear in my drop is the vocals. Now, actually, this is not the vocals, but it's the vox chops is what I like to call it, which is basically a vocal instrument that I create using samples. And so as you can see, this sample is the king _Daco _105 vocal phrase lead thin bout you C major. So yeah, I got this from Splice. And what I usually like to do with my vocal samples is drop them onto the simpler instrument and use the slice mode to come up with my own little vocal instrument. And so the vocal sample originally sounded like this. If you want to hear it, let's have a listen. Not in Finder, let's show it in browser. Show in browser, please. There we go. So let's have a listen to this vocal sample.
And I've been thinking about you, and I've been thinking about you,
So that's the original vocal sample, and this is how it ended up in my track. Swimming in reverb. So yeah, basically that's how you can create little vox chops by using the simpler instrument. Listening to that though, I probably should have faded out, the end of the transient. Let's have a listen to it with it fade in, fade out. Without. Swimming in reverb. Yeah, you can just hear some little artifacts, but with the whole track playing, you don't really hear that, but something to keep in mind when you're creating little vox chops like this is to just fade out a little bit and fade in if you want to. That way you can remove those little artifacts, a little I don't know how to explain it, but you know what I mean? You just remove some of these little clicks and pops of the sample when, they're chopped up in this way. So yeah, just remember to, listen out for that. But, if you can't really hear it in the track, then it's not really necessary. So let's have a listen to the chorus. Oh, wait, we should probably see what else is in the chorus. That's it, yeah. So this is very minimal layers, everyone. It's not overly produced. It's just quite simple. And that's what I really wanted for this track. I just wanted something simple, just simple, and uncomplicated is the word I'm looking for. So obviously as well, the only other thing we have is the guitar riff, which I've already showed you that. So let's have a listen to the chorus from the Z, I guess, beginning. Oh, I just heard a new sound come in. So yeah, to add variation to the second half of the drop, I brought in the flutes, which is my go-to whenever I produce. You're gonna have some flutes in my track, without a doubt, especially with making tropical house music. So the flute that I'm using is this Serum woodwind pan flute. So yeah, that's what I use for my flutes. I absolutely love this sound. And Again, you're going to hear this flute in a lot of my tracks. So let's have a listen to that one on its own. Oh yeah, so just some little runs. As you can see, I haven't really put any reverb on this. It's pretty like spacious already, and all I have on my mixing chain is the EQ8, a saturator and a delay. So yeah, that's in the second half of the drop. And again, like I said, that's just to add some variation and to introduce a new sound. So let's have a listen to that chorus one more time from beginning to end. Oh dear, you stay in place hair, stay in place. My hair's getting too long and I need a haircut. Okay, so now we're heading into the B section or the breakdown, and we're introducing some new vocal phrases, new vocal loops. So let's have a listen to those. All right, so let's just solo this and we'll go from here.
Love will come for you. Love will come for, love will come for, love will come for you. Love will come for you. Love will come for, love will come for, love will come for you.
All right, so as you can hear, that is basically just a different variation of the original vocal phrase, love will come for you, and I'm just singing it in like a different rhythm. And as you can see, I've layered it up. So we have a left and a right layer. So these two are left and right. And then we have sort of the center main vocal. And yeah, I pretty much follow that process of layering my vocals. I make sure I have a center and then I add in like a left, right, and maybe, depending on how many layers, I might, just space them out in the like panning, I guess, stereo field. So yeah, we have some new vocals introduced in this breakdown. And the other layer that we have is, again, going back to this vocal instrument that I created. And that sounds like this. And as you can hear, it's being filtered in. So I'm using a filter here on this track, and I'll show you the automation. So just slowly introducing in this like kind of new vocal melody. So as you can hear from the chorus, the notes of the vocal sample that I'm playing are slightly different. So it's just adding in that variation, but still keeping it familiar to the listener. Not adding in too many new elements at this stage, just varying what I've already created. So let's have a listen to the breakdown. I'm pretty sure, like, apart from the vocals, yeah, that's really just it. Like, just varying up the vocal phrases and the vocal melody that I've created with the vocal instrument. And I don't see any other real instrument other than the hats coming in again, which we've already talked about that down here. So let's see if so with the hats, in terms of mixing, as you can see, I just have an EQ8 and I've cut out all the lows because there's really only high frequencies that I want in the hats. So I've just cut out all the low end and I've just got all those high frequencies, and I've given it a little boost as well. And it's basically being sidechained to the kick and with a little bit of saturation. And the kick comes in a little bit towards the halfway mark of this breakdown. So yeah, let's have a listen to the breakdown right up to the last chorus. And the last chorus is pretty much like the same as the first chorus, except the flutes are playing throughout the whole thing on the last chorus. So let's have a listen from the breakdown. as you heard, like in the second half of this breakdown, we start reintroducing some of the percussion elements like the hats, and then the kick comes in again. And then we have this different vocal phrase, which is if you're feeling heavy, feeling the weight of your pain in your heart, then let yourself feel it. And this is kind of like a new kind of like vocal loop, vocal phrase that comes in to complement like, yeah, the movement, the transition and flow, no pun intended, of this track. So we have some movement going on. We have the nice kind of like breakdown in this B section. Then we start reintroducing some percussion and the bass again before we hit that final chorus. And the final chorus, really, the only thing that's different in it from the first chorus is the full use of the flutes from beginning to end, whereas in the first drop, we only introduced the flutes in the second half of that drop. In this chorus, we have them playing right from the beginning of, the last drop in the song. So let's have a listen to the last drop.
Feeling heavy, feeling the weight of your pain in your heart. Just let yourself feel it, feel it. Oh yeah, let your pain flow from your heart. Love will comfort you.
And there we have it. That is basically all of the elements that make up this track called Flow. And as you can hear, the message of this song is basically spoken plainly in the lyrics. Let your pain flow from your heart and love will come for you. And what I mean by that is the more you allow yourself to express your feelings, the more you allow yourself to feel your pain, feel all of the things that you weren't allowed to feel as a child, you'll experience more greater joy and more greater love in your life through your relationships, through your friendships, through your self-love that you give to yourself, and also from God as well, love from God. So there's potential for more love to come to you when you are not so emotionally shut down and when you are open in your heart and in your soul to being sensitive to love in your life. Because the more you become sensitive to your pain, the more you become sensitive to the trauma that you're holding on to, and the more you allow yourself to feel and express that, the more you allow yourself to feel and become sensitive to love in your life as well. And that's what I mean by let your pain flow from your heart and love will come for you. It's something that I've been putting into practice over the past 10 years, is allowing myself to grieve and connect to my emotions, because all my life I was suppressed and shut down, and like many children, was taught to suppress my emotions and not feel my feelings, and was taught that sadness is bad and that I shouldn't cry, and all these sorts of conditionings and beliefs. And so it's something I've been putting into practice over the past 10 years, and I've been attempting to become more sensitive to what I feel inside. And I can say that my life has definitely, improved, and I have been able to experience the positive benefits of developing more love for myself, attracting more loving relationships into my life, and experiencing some love from God as well. And it's just something that I can't recommend enough for everyone to start practicing in their own life, is to let your pain flow from your heart, because love will come for you and you'll experience much greater joy and much happiness in your life. And for me, it's only just starting, really. It's been painful. It's not easy to allow yourself to feel these feelings. It's definitely not easy, but it's worth it. And you become more happier and healthier in your mental health. And, you can heal things like depression and things like that just from allowing yourself to connect to what you feel emotionally about what happened to you in your childhood and in your life. And also it helps you to heal yourself and heal relationships that you might have, damaged in your adult life due to suppressed childhood trauma. And it helps you gets you started on this journey of healing your soul and everything that you've been through. So I just thought I'd leave you with those words and the message of this track. And I really hope you enjoy this track and that it inspires you to, let your pain flow from your heart. And I hope that you begin to experience more joy and more love in your life. And I thank you for supporting my channel and my music. And yeah, I really hope you enjoy this song. And again, if you want to download my EP, it is available to download via my Bandcamp. You can enter $0 at the checkout if you want to, or you can leave a donation. It's up to you, but I've made this music available to download, and I've made it accessible for those who might not have the means to donate something. So feel free to go and download yourself a copy of the EP. And if you have the means to, you would like to support me in other ways, like via donations or joining me on Patreon, you can join me for free over there, like I said, or you can choose a tier. Like I have a smaller tier and a medium sort of range price tier. So the smallest tier is I think around $2 Australian and around $16 Australian for the second tier. If you have the means to, you would like to support me in that way, you can do so. Otherwise, you are free to join my Patreon for free as well. And I have, lots of things that I share over there for free, and lots of sort of value and inspiration that you can find over on those platforms. Basically, Patreon and Ko-Fi is where you can find me. What else? Oh yeah, and again, if you want this Ableton project, you want to download it, you can visit my store. There'll be a link to download this project along with the album artwork and the song. And that's available from my store. But I'll also put a free download on my Patreon on some of the instruments. The ones that I'm going to give you is the low mallet and this house stab. I'll give you those two instruments. And what else? And then I'll probably just throw in another instrument. Not sure what it's going to be. So if you want to go and download these instruments to use in any Ableton project, you can head to the link in the description as well. The stray hair. Oh my gosh, I can see now. Also, one more thing, if you have absolutely no experience in making music or using Ableton, I have some really awesome tutorials for those who have no experience, where I take you through step by step, every little step of the way, and show you how to make a beat in Ableton. And so you might want to check that out on this playlist up here. And also you can find the link in the description. All right, well, that's pretty much it for this video. Thank you so much for joining me, and I'll see you in the next one.